Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time of day you are watching your weekly morning meeting. My name is Miss Jimerson. This is the week of April 26th. I hope you enjoy this week's meeting. Of course, like always, let's start off with some deep breathing. Make sure you find yourself a quiet spot. Put your hands on your shoulders. Take a deep breath in and out. In and out. In and out once more. Let's review some tips on focusing as well. We want to make sure our eyes are watching and tracking our speaker. We want to make sure our ears are listening. Our body is sitting still. And our voices are also quiet so that we can hear the speaker. All right, so the thinking question of the week is, would you rather be an incredibly fast swimmer or an incredibly fast runner? Okay, again, scholars, we have sight word practice for the week. This time, I will say the words in the normal voice. You will say the words in a loud voice. And finally, you'll say the word in a whisper voice and also use it in a sentence. Ready, set, read. The word is almost. Almost. Became. Became. Friend. Friend. Small. Small. Thank. Thank. which, which. Beautiful, beautiful. Found, found. Goes, goes. Upon, upon. Okay, scholars, now we're ready to move on into our word work. Last week we spoke about a young lady named Rosa. This week we're moving on into a different type of passage. Fish and humans are different from one another. For example, they live in different habitats. Fish live in water and humans live in homes. Also, they have different body parts. A fish has scales and fins, but humans have skin and arms. Last week we made note of nouns, verbs, parentheses, compound words, and adjectives in our passage. Adverbs were also new to us. Let's jump into a quick parts of speech review. This poster that you see is of nouns, and a noun is a person, a place, or a thing. As you notice, a person could be an uncle, a mom, a principal, a brother, a doctor, a friend, and so on. A place could be a school, a house, a carnival, a lab, or a restaurant. A thing could be a fruit, a truck, a costume, a balloon, or a pencil. As you know, a verb is something that shows action. It's something that you can do. Notice in the picture, Vicky verb. Vicky can play, swim, blink, exercise, smile, drink, sleep, dance, or read. She says, I can do anything. Adjectives tell us about our nouns. They describe them. For example, the pencil that you see is sharp. What do we know about the pencil? It's sharp. Sharp describes the pencil. Let's look at taste, how something tastes. If you notice the apple, you see it says juicy. The apple is juicy. Or, I've eaten a juicy apple. Look at the basketball. What shape is it? Right, it's round. A round basketball. Adjectives describe the noun. Jumping right on into adverbs. We discussed adverbs last week, so this should be a good review. We know that adverbs describe verbs. Now, what are verbs? Right, verbs are anything we can do. Adverbs describe those things. It tells us how we do it, when we do it, and where we do it. For example, if you see the sentence below, it says, we played outside at recess. Outside is where they played. Played is a verb. It tells what they did. Pronouns take place of a noun. For example, if I was talking about my mom, I could say the word she instead of saying my mom. Can you try that one? What if you were describing friends, a group of friends that you may have? You can say they or them to refer to your friends. Now that we've looked at the parts of speech, we have those anchor charts as a reference, which will definitely help us into our next part, which is genre. And we're focused on nonfiction versus fiction. Do you know the difference between fiction and nonfiction? What are some ways you know? So let's review the anchor chart, which shows us the differences between fiction and nonfiction. So on the fiction side, we see that fiction stories aren't real. They're made up and they have story talk and they're usually read to enjoy. We usually have characters and a setting. There's some type of problem and definitely a solution. And it's very different than nonfiction. In a nonfiction story, there's fact talk and the elements of the story are real. And this is a time where we're reading something to learn. And it usually has photos, graphs, or charts. And it has true information that will help us learn. So let's look back. Today we discussed a short passage, and I'll reread it to you. Fish and humans are different from one another. For example, they live in different habitats. Fish live in water and humans live in homes. Also, they have different body parts. A fish has scales and fins, but humans have skin and arms. Do you think this passage is fiction or nonfiction? Why? And how do you know? So, did you guess it? You got it? Right. Our passage this week is nonfiction. Now, your challenge this week is to choose 5 books, whether you find them online or in your home. Write the titles of those books down and decide if they are fiction or nonfiction based on what you've learned. My example is Little Red Riding Hood. And I know that Little Red Riding Hood is fiction because a werewolf cannot talk in real life. Okay, you guys are working so well. I'm so proud already. All right, so here's the problem of the week. Sally grew 16 carrots. Melanie grew 8 carrots. How many carrots did they grow in total? Use place value blocks or representation to show how many carrots Sally grew. Then show how many Melanie grew. What should be your next step? What does the question ask? And what operation, remember operation is addition or subtraction, should you use? How do you know? All right, scholars, make sure you have your pencil and paper handy. Remember that we also are using our RDW strategy. R is where you label what you've read. D, draw what we have. Draw the values. W, write your conclusions. Okay, scholars, now we're ready to build together. I began my R with the girls' names Sally and Melanie because I read their names in the problem. D, I wrote the information down or drew the information that I read. Sally has 16 carrots. Melanie has 8 carrots. I wanted to add this slide in your slideshow just because I think this is some out loud thinking that you can do as you are problem solving. I want to know what your next step is. Once you have the information written down, how will you use the information from the problem? What did the question ask? And what way can you solve the problem? All right, so write your conclusion down. That's very important. Make sure you've done all the necessary steps to solve. Make sure you've checked your work. My conclusion is together, Sally and Melanie have 24 carrots in all. Did you get the same answer? All right, scholars, we have reached the closing. I want you guys to have an amazing week. Make sure to come back anytime to review the sight words, the word work, or the problem of the week. All those things are going to give you an extra boost for second grade. So make sure you're studying them and studying them well in addition to the other things you are doing. I'm so proud of you. I'm excited that I see a lot of you guys' work every week and you're working very hard at home. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Bye-bye.